Ouija board. A Ouija board, also known as a ghost board or talking board, is a flat board with letters, numbers, and other symbols on it. It is used to communicate with spirits by moving a pointer or planchette to spell out messages. The board usually includes the words yes, no, hello, and goodbye. Planchette. Planchette can Hungarian be a table pointer or simply a pointer. So the sentence could sound like this. It is used to communicate with ghosts by moving a pointer to spell out messages. The history of the Ouija board is fascinating and is the subject of much debate and interest. Some believe that he is really able to communicate with spirits, while others attribute his movement to the ideomotor effect, where the subconscious mind influences the movement of the planchette. Ideomotor phenomenon is a psychological phenomenon during which a person performs movements unconsciously. The term ideomotor comes from the words idea, idea or mental image, and motor, muscle movement. This phenomenon often occurs in situations such as automatic writing, pendulum use, facilitated communication, and the use of a Ouija board. The essence of the ideomotor effect is that a thought or mental image triggers a reflexive or automatic muscle reaction, often without the person consciously deciding on the movement. For example, when someone uses the Ouija board, the planchette movement may be caused by the subconscious muscle movements of the participants, not the spirits. This phenomenon helps explain why the Ouija board may appear to actually communicate with ghosts, when in fact the subconscious movements of the participants control the planchette. The concept of using a board to communicate with spirits dates back to ancient times, but the modern Ouija board as we know it today was patented in 1891 by Elijah Bond. Here are some key points in his story. 1. Ancient origin. Similar spiritual communication methods were used in ancient China, Greece, and Rome. These early practices involved the use of a suspended ring or pendulum pointing to letters or symbols. 2. Spiritualism movement. The Ouija board became popular in the late 19th century when spiritualism was booming. People were fascinated by the idea of communicating with the dead, and the Ouija board became a popular tool during seances. 3. Commercialization. Elijah Bond and Charles Kennard were the first to patent the Ouija board in 1891. Kennard claimed that the name Ouija came from a combination of the French and German words yes, oui and jar, although this origin story is disputed. 4. Parker Brothers and Hasbro. In 1966, Parker Brothers, now a subsidiary of Hasbro, purchased the rights to the Ouija board. The board became a popular game, especially in the 1970s. 5. Cultural influence. The Ouija board has appeared in many books, movies, and TV shows, often depicted as a mysterious and sometimes dangerous tool. This contributed to the enduring attractiveness of the board and the myths that have developed around it. Despite commercial success, the Ouija board remains a controversial topic. Some consider it a harmless game, while others believe that it can open the door to the supernatural. 1. Ancient origin. Ancient China. In ancient China, one method of communicating with spirits was Fuji, or ghost board writing. This practice became popular during the Song Dynasty, 9601–279. During Fuji used a suspended stick or pen, which was held over a bowl of sand or ash. The stick or pen was moved by the participants and messages written by the spirit were read from the sand or ashes. Ancient Greece. In ancient Greece, a technique called the psychomantium was used, which was a mirrored room where participants tried to contact spirits by looking in the mirror. They also used a method called opt-romancy, in which a mirror or other reflective surface was used to predict the future or messages from spirits. Ancient Rome. In ancient Rome, a method of divination called sorties was used, in which texts or words were randomly selected from a book to receive messages from spirits. In addition, a device called pendulum was used, which was a suspended ring or pendulum. They watched the pendulum move to point to letters or symbols, which is how they received messages from spirits. These early practices all show that humans have tried to contact spirits and the afterlife through various means and methods since ancient times. The modern Ouija board is an improved version of these old techniques. 2. Spiritualism. By brainstorming the beginnings of the movement, the spiritualism movement began in the United States in the mid-19th century and quickly spread throughout Europe. The central idea of the movement was that the spirits of the dead can communicate with the living. This faith was especially appealing to those who had lost loved ones and sought comfort. The Fox sisters. One of the earliest and best-known incidents in spiritualism is associated with the Fox sisters, who claimed in 1848 to have made contact with the spirit of a murdered traveler. The sisters heard knocking sounds, which they interpreted as responses from the spirit. This case attracted a lot of attention, and many began to be interested in communicating with ghosts. Seances and media. During the spiritualism movement, seances became the most common method of communicating with spirits. During seances, a medium who was supposedly able to contact the spirits led the group. Mediums used various techniques, such as automatic writing, knocks, and speech, to convey messages from spirits. The popularity of the Ouija board. The Ouija board became popular in the late 19th century, when the spiritualism movement was at its peak. People were fascinated by the idea of communicating with the dead, and the Ouija board proved to be a simple and easy-to-use tool during seances. The use of the board allowed anyone, even at home, to try to contact the ghosts. Social impact. The popularity of the spiritualism movement and the Ouija board had a significant social impact. People became more open to otherworldly phenomena, and spiritualism appeared in many works of art and literature. At the same time, the movement also received much criticism, especially from the scientific community, which was skeptical about the authenticity of communication with spirits. 3. Commercial distribution. Patenting. Elijah Bond and Charles Kennard were the first to patent the Ouija board in 1891. Elijah Bond was a lawyer and helped with the legal details of the patent. The patent was registered on February 10, 1891, and the board was officially registered as toy or gaming device. The purpose of the patent was to protect the unique design and principle of operation of the board. Origin of name. Charles Kennard, who was the founder of the Kennard Novelty Company, the first company that produced Ouija boards, claimed that the name Ouija came from a combination of the French words oui and the German words ja, both meaning yes. However, this origin story is disputed. Another theory is that the name Ouija came from a ghost who came into contact while using the board and who claimed that the name meant good luck. Beginnings of production and sales after the patent was registered. The Kennard Novelty Company began manufacturing and distributing Ouija boards. The first boards were made of wood and had hand-painted letters and symbols. The tablet quickly gained popularity, especially among adherents of the spiritualism movement, who tried to contact spirits using the board. Parker Brothers and Hasbro in 1966. Toy company Parker Brothers bought the rights to the Ouija board. Parker Brothers improved the design of the board and began producing and distributing it in larger quantities. The board became especially popular in the 1970s, when interest in spiritualism and the paranormal resurged. Later, toy company Hasbro bought Parker Brothers, and they still produce the Ouija board today. Controversy and criticism. Despite its commercial success, the Ouija board has always been the subject of controversy and criticism. Some consider it a harmless game, while others believe that it can be dangerous and open the door to supernatural forces. The controversy surrounding the use of the board and the stories surrounding it only added to the mystique and appeal of the board. 4. Parker Brothers and Hasbro by Parker Brothers in 1966. Toy company Parker Brothers bought the rights to the Ouija board from the Fuld family, who had owned and manufactured the board until then. 1. Parker Brothers quickly recognized the commercial potential of the board and began producing and distributing it in large quantities. In its first year, more than 2 million Ouija boards were sold, surpassing Monopoly's sales. Popularity of the 1970s. In the 1970s, the Ouija board became particularly popular, partly due to a resurgence of interest in the paranormal and spiritualism. People were curious about otherworldly communication, and the ease of use of the whiteboard allowed anyone to try it at home. The board appeared in many films, books, and television shows, which further increased its popularity and mysticism. Hasbro takeover. In 1991, Hasbro bought Parker Brothers, and with it the rights to the Ouija board. Hasbro continues to produce and market the board in various variants, including glow-in-the-dark and pink versions for girls. The board remained popular and is still used by many people for entertainment and spiritual purposes to this day. Controversy and criticism. Despite its popularity, the Ouija board has always been the subject of controversy and criticism. Some religious groups and skeptics say the sign could be dangerous and open the door to supernatural forces. Others consider it a harmless game that only responds to the subconscious movements of participants. 5. Cultural impact. Literature. The Ouija board appeared in many literary works, often as a tool of mysticism and the supernatural. For example, in Shirley Jackson's novel, The Haunting of Hill House, the board plays an important role in the story. Such works often emphasize the dangers of using the board and the mysteries that come with it, which contributes to the mysticism surrounding the board. Movies. The Ouija board has also appeared in many horror films, often as a means of main plot. One of the best-known examples is the 1973 film, The Exorcist, where paranormal events begin after using the board. Such films often depict the dangers of using the board and the spiritual threats that come with it, which further adds to the board's mystical and terrifying reputation. Television shows. The Ouija board also often appears in television shows, especially in the paranormal and horror genres. For example, in the series Supernatural and American Horror Story, the board was also featured as a means of communication with ghosts. These shows often show the consequences of using the board and the dangers that come with it. Pop culture. The Ouija board has also appeared as part of pop culture, in various forms and contexts. For example, the board appears in various music, comics, and video games. The board is often presented as a symbol of mysticism, mystery, and the supernatural, which further increases the attractiveness of the board and the myths that have developed around it. Social impact. The cultural impact of the Ouija board is not limited to the entertainment industry. The use of the board and the stories associated with it often provoke controversy in society, especially in religious and skeptical communities. Some consider it a harmless game, while others believe that it can be dangerous and open the door to supernatural forces. These debates and the mystique surrounding the board only add to the board's lasting appeal.